They called it the BlackBerry, the most expensive and addictive gadget for the corporate elite. By 2009, it had no real competitors. But just 5 years later, its empire lay in ruins. This is the story of how a blind faith in a single button destroyed the king of the mobile world.
In the late 2000s, the pockets of politicians, bankers, and celebrities held more than just a phone. They held a status symbol, an instrument of power, and an object of obsession, aptly nicknamed the BlackBerry for the addiction it fostered. BlackBerry wasn't just a successful brand, it was a cultural phenomenon, the Volvo of the mobile world. Perhaps not the most glamorous, but utterly invincible, a symbol of reliability and security. In 2009, this Canadian company held 20% of the global smartphone market and was considered the gold standard. Its downfall was not merely a business failure. It was the swift and dramatic demise of a digital empire that seemed eternal. Why did this symbol of prestige and corporate power fade into the shadows almost overnight, leaving behind only the echo of clicks from a physical keyboard?
To understand the scale of the fall, one must appreciate the height from which BlackBerry fell. Its ascent was meteoric, built on a flawless formula. BlackBerry devices didn't try to be fashionable toys. They were tools for work. Their physical QWERTY keyboard allowed for typing emails at unprecedented speeds, and their proprietary BBM, BlackBerry Messenger service, created a closed, secure, and incredibly popular ecosystem for communication. Imagine the business district of any major city in 2008. Thousands of fingers busily and rapidly tapping away on distinctive keys. This was the sound of the working world. BlackBerry controlled a staggering 50% of the US market and 20% of the global market. But its true strength lay not in its hardware, but in its software. BBM was the messenger for the chosen ones before the concept even existed. It offered not only instant messages, but also role-playing games, themed chats, and groups that for an entire generation of users left a more vivid impression than the future WhatsApp or Telegram. It was a social network in your pocket, accessible only to those with the right device. The company's founder, Mike Lazaridis, proudly stated in 2008, "The most exciting trend in the mobile industry is the full QWERTY keyboard. I'm sorry, but it's true." This phrase encapsulated the entire DNA of the company, a belief in the superiority of the physical over the virtual, of functionality over form. They were kings, and their throne was carved from plastic and rubber.
In 2007, Steve Jobs took the stage and unveiled the device that rewrote the rules. The first iPhone, with its large touchscreen and focus on the internet and multimedia, was met with outright skepticism at BlackBerry's headquarters in Waterloo. The company's leadership perceived it not as a threat, but as a curiosity. Co-CEO Jim Boselli characteristically responded in 2007, "The iPhone is just another player in an already crowded market." Inside the company, a conviction was cultivated that touch input was a step backward. There was even a corporate joke. Try typing a web address on an iPhone. Business doesn't work that way. They saw the world through the prism of email, while Apple offered the world through a browser and apps. It was a classic case of giant's blindness. Intoxicated by its own success, BlackBerry failed to see the paradigm shifting. Users no longer just wanted to call and write. They wanted to surf the web, watch videos, play games, and customize their devices. Rumors from within the company suggest that top management demonstratively refused to acknowledge the revolution, to maintain their own comfort and faith in their own infallibility. They were defending their burning platform, unaware it was already engulfed in flames.
Realizing the touchscreen trend was gaining momentum, BlackBerry panicked and decided to respond. The answer was the BlackBerry Storm in 2008, the company's first touchscreen phone and its grand fiasco. The device featured a pseudo-touchscreen that needed to be pressed down entirely with a click rather than tapped. The technology was raw, slow, and unreliable. The storm earned the sad internal nickname Shitstorm due to an avalanche of returns and countless bugs. Instead of offering smooth and intuitive innovation, BlackBerry demonstrated hasty product panic. The leadership's reaction was telling. Jim Balsillie stated after the failed launch, "Users should expect new models to ship with bugs. It's natural." This sentence became a death sentence for the brand's reputation, built on reliability. The problems were compounded by archaic software architecture. Each new BlackBerry model required its own separate application build, which was a nightmare for developers. While Apple and Android were creating unified ecosystems that attracted millions of content creators, BlackBerry was pushing them away with its own hands, remaining within an outdated, fragmented model. This was a strategic failure that planted a time bomb under its entire business model.
While the outside world watched the product failures, a civil war was raging inside BlackBerry. Conflicts between top managers split the company into warring towers. The main schism occurred around strategy. What to do with their key asset, BBM? One faction, seeing the growing popularity of cross-platform messengers, insisted on releasing BBM on iOS and Android, turning it into an independent, powerful service. The other faction, clinging to the remnants of exclusivity, fiercely resisted, believing it would kill the only remaining advantage of their hardware. The idea was blocked. This decision, according to many analysts, became one of the key reasons for Jim Balsillie's subsequent departure. The atmosphere in the leadership resembled a closed club paralyzed by the fear of risk. While competitors experimented, BlackBerry guarded its past. Founder Mike Lazaridis once stated, "I don't understand the need for a touchscreen phone." This fundamental inability to understand the changing world came from the very top and infected the entire corporate culture. Talented engineers and managers, seeing the hopeless situation, began to leave the sinking ship en masse.
By 2011, the cup of patience ran over. In October 2011, a massive outage at a BlackBerry data center paralyzed services for tens of millions of users worldwide for 3 days. Millions of people couldn't send messages, make calls, or receive email. Imagine, a silence of the giant fell over the cities of the world, where digital life had been bustling just yesterday. There was now quiet. It was a symbolic collapse. As the BBC commented, "Everything BlackBerry was famous for, stability, has gone up in smoke. It was a Volvo that suddenly broke down." The disaster destroyed the last remnants of trust from both corporate clients and ordinary users. The company's market share began an absolute, unstoppable decline. If in 2009 it was a proud 20%, by 2013 it had collapsed to a catastrophic 1.9%. The empire was crumbling before everyone's eyes.
The final years resembled agony. BlackBerry made a desperate attempt to save itself with the new BlackBerry 10 operating system and devices like the Z10 and Passport. These were bold but belated and developer-unfriendly products. The market rejected them. The time for tough decisions had come. In 2016, BlackBerry officially announced it would stop producing its own smartphones, licensing the brand to the Chinese company TCL. The numbers delivered the final, merciless verdict. In the last quarter of 2016, only 207,900 BlackBerry devices were sold, against global smartphone sales of 432 million. Its market share had fallen to almost zero. As one anonymous company employee bitterly remarked, "The whole industry changed, and we remain true to the past." BlackBerry transformed from a manufacturer of iconic devices into a company focused on software and cybersecurity, a respectable but pale shadow of its former self.
Walking through the empty corridors of its former offices in Waterloo today, where the fates of millions of devices were once decided, one hears only an echo, the echo of old keys forever silenced. The story of BlackBerry is not just a tale of unsuccessful product or poor marketing. It is a textbook on systemic corporate crisis. Blind faith in one's own infallibility, fear of change, isolation from real trends, neglect of the ecosystem, and an inability to sacrifice short-term gains for long-term survival. This is the poison that crippled the giant. Its fall serves as an eternal warning to any company, especially today's tech giants feeling on top of the world. Success today does not guarantee survival tomorrow. The strongest fall when they stop looking to the future, preferring instead to endlessly admire their reflection in a gilded but already tarnished past.
Subscribe to Business Obituaries. We're cooking up new stories of epic failures for you. Your like helps this channel grow.